America has always been a nation of voices. Voices that argue, voices that inspire, voices that divide. But one voice, rising fast in the heart of America's cultural battlefield, was silenced in an instant. It didn't happen in the shadows. It didn't happen behind closed doors. It happened on stage, under the lights, in front of cameras, in front of hundreds who came for debate, not death. The assassination of Charlie Kirk wasn't just the killing of a man. It was the moment a nation was forced to confront a terrifying question. Has political violence become the new language of our time? This is the story of how one night, one man, and one gunshot tore through the United States, and why the echoes still haunt us today. It was an ordinary Wednesday in the Midwest. A Turning Point USA town hall, small venue, folding chairs, American flags pinned neatly to the walls. The kind of local event where high school students volunteered, retirees passed out pamphlets, and the smell of coffee mixed with the buzz of anticipation. Supporters arrived early, waving signs and wearing red caps, ready to cheer. Protesters stood near the back, arms crossed, waiting for their moment to challenge him. The air was tense but familiar. This was the theater of American politics, and Charlie Kirk knew how to play the stage. At exactly 7 p.m., he walked out under the lights. The crowd erupted, half in cheers, half in boos. He smiled. He always did. Conflict was his oxygen. For 30 minutes, he was at his peak, sharp, confident, unapologetic. He sparred with audience members, turned heckles into punchlines, and filled the room with the energy of someone who believed every word he said. Then, at 7:42 p.m., a sharp crack split the air. At first, people thought it was feedback from the microphone. But then came the screams. Charlie stumbled. His notes fluttered to the floor. A second shot followed. Chaos erupted. People dropped to the ground, shielding loved ones, crawling under chairs, scrambling toward the exits. Security stormed the stage, but it was already too late. Charlie Kirk collapsed. Blood spread across the stage where, just moments before, his words had filled the air. That night, America's cultural war crossed a line it could never uncross. Charlie Kirk wasn't an elected official, but his influence stretched far beyond Washington. By his early 20s, he had built Turning Point USA, a youth-driven conservative movement that gave a new generation of students a platform to push back against what they saw as liberal dominance on college campuses. To his followers, he was bold, fearless, the man who said what others were too afraid to say. To his critics, he was reckless, provocative, and dangerous. Someone who thrived on outrage and used division as a weapon. He didn't just talk about America's divide. He embodied it, a lightning rod for both admiration and hate. By the time he stepped onto that stage in the Midwest, Charlie Kirk wasn't just a commentator, he was a symbol. And symbols attract enemies. Within minutes, the shooter was in custody. His name, Tyler Robinson, 32 years old. No fame, no political title, no record, just a blue-collar worker from Illinois with a quiet life, or so it seemed. But investigators soon discovered there was nothing ordinary about him. Online, Tyler Robinson lived in a different world. His social media accounts were filled with anger, rants about America collapsing, about politicians lying, about traitors destroying the country. He had a small but devoted following on fringe message boards. He posted memes about revolution, videos about taking back control, and long, cryptic messages about how real patriots don't wait for permission. Neighbors described him as quiet, polite, withdrawn. But coworkers told a different story, about a man quick to anger, someone who argued about politics during lunch breaks, someone who said the country needed a reset. When federal agents opened his laptop, what they found changed everything. Search histories showing Kirk's tour schedule, maps of venues, security diagrams, encrypted chats with usernames investigators couldn't trace. This wasn't random. It was deliberate. It was planned. But the question that haunted investigators was why? Why Charlie Kirk? Why that night? As the FBI dug deeper, a disturbing picture began to form. They traced Robinson's movements across 3 states. He had attended multiple turning point events, sometimes sitting quietly in the crowd, sometimes lingering outside long after the speeches ended. Surveillance footage showed him taking photos of entrances, security guards, and parking lots. He kept a notebook, later found in his apartment, with chilling observations about crowd behavior, guard rotations, and escape routes. At the bottom of one page, in shaky handwriting, he had written, "One spark can start a movement." Investigators also uncovered a string of small wire transfers, each under $500, from untraceable accounts. Enough to fund his travel, his weapons, his equipment, but not enough to tie him to any group or organization. Every lead raised more questions than it answered. Was Robinson part of an extremist faction? Was he manipulated by online radical groups? Or was this simply one man who decided that words were no longer enough? No one could say for certain, and that uncertainty terrified everyone. Barely a month later, the courtroom overflowed with tension. Reporters filled every seat. Outside, protesters lined the streets, some demanding justice, others claiming the media was using the tragedy to silence political speech. Inside, it was suffocatingly quiet. Charlie Kirk's family sat in the front row, their faces expressionless, as prosecutors laid out the evidence piece by piece, the encrypted messages, the blueprints, the notebook, the timeline, the obsession. The defense painted a different picture. They called Robinson a man spiraling into mental illness, a victim of paranoia and propaganda. They argued that he wasn't part of a conspiracy, just a man consumed by fear, living in a world where outrage had replaced truth. But the jury saw something else. They saw intent. They saw preparation. They saw purpose. After weeks of testimony, the verdict came down. Guilty on all counts. The courtroom fell silent. No cheers. No applause. Only the heavy sound of quiet sobbing and the realization that nothing, no sentence, no verdict, could bring back what had been lost. The shockwaves spread across the nation almost instantly. Talk shows devoted weeks to the story. Politicians condemned the violence, even as some quietly questioned whether rhetoric on both sides had fueled the fire. Events were canceled. Security doubled. Public figures began traveling with private guards. At universities, students whispered about what had happened, some fearful, some defiant. Professors discussed the state of free speech in America. Parents worried that political debate had become too dangerous for their children. On social media, the chaos deepened. Conspiracy theories exploded overnight. Some claimed Robinson had been part of a government plot. Others insisted he had been framed. Each new theory spread faster than the last. Everyone was talking, but no one was listening. And in that noise, the truth began to disappear. Months passed, but the wound refused to heal. Political rallies became smaller, quieter, more heavily guarded. The passion that once filled these events was replaced by tension, an unspoken fear that at any moment, someone in the crowd could turn violent. The words that once sparked debate now sparked suspicion. Journalists second-guessed every headline. Public figures softened their tone, careful not to say too much, because in the wake of that night, words had become dangerous. Charlie Kirk's assassination didn't just end a life. It ended an illusion, the illusion that words could never kill. It forced a nation to confront an ugly truth, that when disagreement turns into dehumanization, when ideology becomes identity, and when anger becomes entertainment, something inside the country begins to die. In that alternate America, the question wasn't just who killed Charlie Kirk. It was what killed him, and the answer was far more haunting. It wasn't one man. It wasn't one ideology. It was all of us. Our anger, our pride, our silence. The night Charlie Kirk was assassinated, a bullet tore through more than one man. It tore through the fragile thread holding America together. And as the echoes fade, one truth remains. If words can lead to gunfire, then the story of Charlie Kirk's assassination isn't just about him. It's about us, our anger, our pride, our silence. Because sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't a gun. It's a belief. And when belief turns to hate, no one walks away unscarred. This is Behind the Crime, where we uncover the truth that hides in the shadows of tragedy. Behind the crime, TruecrimeIn.